Good morning, everyone, and good evening if you're in where Becky's living or in Europe. My name is Sonia Marsh, and I have the blog Gutsy Living, Life's Too Short to Play It Safe. And this is another Gutsy Hangout with Rebecca Hall, whom I interviewed, had the pleasure about a year ago. So quickly, how are you, Rebecca?
I'm a bit cold. January's chilly in Greece. A lot of people think Greece is blue skies and sunshine every single day, which it is for most of the time, but January's chilly, so but I'm
Okay.
good at that.
Wonderful. Good to see you again. So for our viewers, I would like to give a little bit of a description of who you are and why I think you're special. So Rebecca Hall is a British travel writer, a rough guide contributor who finds herself living in the slightly chaotic country of Greece, where she also teaches English as a foreign language as her day job. She started a new blog called Life Beyond Borders, and I just want to read a little bit. She says, I tried to live the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday um, uh, job and love my country of birth. I tried really hard, but day by day, my soul was being eaten up. So I changed and took control of my life before it took control of me. And let me just give you her favorite travel quote. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and that's by Mark Twain. So I read the favorite things that I saw on your blog. So once again, welcome, and we have a lot to discuss since we last spoke last year, don't we?
We certainly do, Sonia. Thanks for agreeing to this hangout. It's a nice chance to catch up with you as well and to catch up
Yes.
with my fans as well. It's great.
Good. So let me start by saying that I remember you when you had your original blog called Leaving Cairo, and now you've
Right.
changed it to Life Beyond Borders. Can you tell everyone why you decided to do that?
Sure, it's lifebeyondbordersblog.com. I started leaving Cairo in 2010, ironically when I was actually in Cairo teaching and I left there. And I started the blog because my father wasn't on Facebook. So
Hmm.
it was his way of, I came back to Greece, it was his way of keeping up with everyday life and goings on. What was going on in Greece, what was going on with teaching, etc. And then I found it developing into a kind of travel blog. And in 2012, unfortunately, there was a lot of bad press about Greece because it had really started to develop with the economic crisis. And I found a lot more people were actually following my blog, people say from the United States, from the UK. And I was getting emails from people saying, is it safe to come on holiday? And I realized that my blog was actually being seen more than just within my tight family circle.
Right.
Um, Unfortunately, the name, because I wasn't up on blogging at that stage, I thought, well, I've left Cairo, so that would be a good name for the blog, Leaving Cairo. But because it was predominantly about Greece, and not only Greece, but my other adventure travels around the world, I found as I got more and more into blogging that people were not really staying on my site when they looked at it because naturally they think my site was about Cairo.
Right. Right.
I had a rethink and I thought, what name is going to be really good for this? And I knew what I wanted to try and put across to people that, as you said, the Mark Twain quote is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Travel is very, very important, and that I want to express travel in a way not just beyond the geographical borders, but also people's own mind borders. It expands people's minds when they travel. So that's my tagline of my blog,
Right.
designed to take people beyond the borders of geography and their minds, and hence the name Life Beyond Borders blog.
So
So
when you started writing about Athens, were there many blogs at that time about Greece, or were you one of the ones that started and getting an audience? You said there wasn't so much information.
I didn't live in Athens at the time when I started it. I lived in a tiny, tiny Greek village in the middle of nowhere. So I
Really?
was, yeah, so I was starting my blog about my adventures in this kind of Greek village. And then I started to develop it about, like you say, Athens and Greece in general.
Okay.
Since 2010, I'd say from 2012 onwards, through my blog, I've started meeting other bloggers who live in Athens, and
Mm-hmm.
also it's grown organically. And I've met people, other travel bloggers who don't just concentrate specifically on Greece, but great people who concentrate on traveling worldwide, but also come to Greece and they blog about travels within Greece. I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say I was specifically one just to concentrate on Greece, but
Right.
there are other travel bloggers out there. But probably the only one in my village where I was.
Oh, yes. So tell us a little bit about your daily life. I would like to know. I mean, do you teach every day? How do you organize your weeks and
Yes,
your
well,
blogging?
I don't actually teach daily. No, I have a part-time job. So I have a lovely time actually traveling to school, to be honest. That's one of my favorite times of the day because I get to walk through the local neighborhood to travel out to where my school's located, which is in the middle of this huge forest. It's beautiful because
So
it's
do you
quite a
take
pristine.
do you take public transportation? Do you ride a bicycle?
No, I public transport out. I wouldn't. I don't think I trust myself to ride a bicycle in Greece. I don't think I trust other people to. Well, if I rode a bicycle in
Oh,
Athens, I
yes.
don't drive a car in Athens. I refuse to. Um, so yes, I take public transport, and it's. Do you know what? Public transport in Athens is incredibly clean.
Wow.
Within the underground metro system, it's called Metro Underground. There is piped classical music.
Oh
Um,
my.
screens, computer screens with the 5 daily weather forecast. Some of them have big friezes on the wall of ancient Greek
Oh my gosh.
artifacts, etc. So it's
Yes.
a beautiful experience. And actually, even though I've been here since 2008 or in Athens since 2010, I still get a lot of enjoyment from travelling on public transport and just seeing, I don't know, sitting next to a Orthodox priest, for example. It's just
Ah.
how foreign still everything is for me, and I love it. I really love it.
And tell me, is it easy to start a conversation with someone, or like you said, when you do public transport, or is your Greek not up to the standard yet of communicating with everyone, or what?
Laughing because it's so funny. Even in a big, I always say Athens is like a big village because people tend to strike up conversations amongst each other, particularly the elderly. Not so much the young people, but the elderly do. I've had Gringlish conversations with people. It's the elderly ladies who like what I'm wearing or like a coat that I'm wearing, and they there's no kind of real thing for privacy in Greece, so they'll sit next to me and they'll touch my coat, for
Oh,
example,
yes.
and say,
Yes.
"Kitty, which is lady, I like your coat. Where did you get your coat?" And then I have to explain in Greek. I say, "I'm very sorry, I don't understand much Greek, but I got it from this shop." And they say, "Oh, when they see I'm not Greek, for some reason this opens them up even more in
You mean,
Greek."
do
But
you mean to say they think that you're Greek initially?
I think so. Yes, I seem to pass myself off very well as Greek. I don't know how. But the tiny amount of Greek that I do speak, I mean, it's appalling, really, the lack of Greek that I have, having lived here for 7 years. But the tiny amount of Greek I do speak, apparently, according to Greek people, I speak well with a Greek accent. So,
Oh, good. Good,
uh,
good. So, just out of curiosity, what age a range are you teaching English? Is it a school? Is it?
yes, it's
Um,
I teach 6 and 7 year olds, so very young, and
yes.
I purely in English. And it's more of an after school program, so they're exposed to English through fun, through crafts, through activities that we do together after school. So that's nice. But
Good.
I also examine, so I examine for the Cambridge Examining Board. That's something separate that I do, which is
Okay.
good.
And then when do you have time to blog, and how often do you blog, and
Well, that's
how?
my job is very part-time, so it's not all day. It's an after-school program, so I either blog in the mornings or I'll blog in the evenings. Usually I come home from school and then catch up on social media and
Yeah.
start to blog in the evenings, or I'll go out and if I've done something specific at the weekend, I'll come back and then digest everything and then blog about that maybe the following week.
Okay, so what is, I'm going to ask you a question about your ultimate goal with your blog.
What's my ultimate goal with my blog? Okay,
Yes.
it would be, like I say, initially it was started purely for family members to have a look, see what was going on. I found organically it started to grow. Ultimately, I want to get the word out there that Greece is not a country to be avoided, is not a country to be ridiculed, is still a very beautiful country in terms of its aesthetic beauty, in terms of the people, in terms of the food. So I really want to try and pose a positive light on Greece. If that means that I monetize that as well, then that's
Right.
fantastic. That would be fantastic. But that's not my huge goal. Although it would be very nice, I do hasten to add.
Yes. So, see, I honestly thought that, well, from the American perspective, Greece doesn't have a negative connotation. I mean, people are always talking about how beautiful it is and wanting to travel to Greece. Are you thinking more of the economic side that the Europeans maybe are focusing more on when you say making fun of and all that?
Well, that's good for me, Sonia, to hear that from your side.
Yeah.
Like we said, you're speaking firsthand, so that's a really positive thing to hear, and I'm pleased about that. Yes, possibly that's coming, as you say, from a European perspective that focuses, particularly Northern Europe, that focuses very hard on Greeks are lazy, Greeks don't do
Yeah.
this, don't do that. Specifically in 2012, there were issues because there were a lot of problems in the streets at that time, and that was reaching the American market through different American media outlets that were maybe not so correctly reporting what was happening. So that was back then, but that's a really nice thing to hear, Sonia. Thank you.
Yes, good.
Positively getting.
Well, I'm glad. Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about rough guides, and is that through your blog that you got contacted to write, or how did that happen?
That was
And
a lot of factors, actually. I had somebody I knew vaguely wrote for Rough Guides, who I'd actually met through examining English, and he heard about a trip that I did from Athens to Hong Kong via container ship,
I remember that.
which we can briefly touch on if you like
Yes, I
later.
would like people to hear about that.
Okay, so he briefly heard about that because that story had been picked up by the Telegraph, the Daily Telegraph, and I'd written a piece for the Daily Telegraph. The Rough Guides were looking for some more people to cover. Specifically, Greece needed updating last year. They update their books every 3 years. And they asked, I think they asked, first of all, they asked their in-house writers, do you know of anybody who might be located locally? He said, well, you might want to check out this person. They contacted me and they asked me, what pieces of writing do you have as an example? I forwarded them my Telegraph article about travelling via container ship. I also forwarded them a copy of my blog. And other things. I think I'd written for Cyprus Airways magazine at the time as well. So
Well, that's impressive, all that.
yeah, so they saw that, and then but they did ask also to interview me. So I had an interview, and I also had to write a piece for specifically Rough Guides, an example piece. And through that process, that's, as you say, that's when they asked me to do the Rough Guides job last year.
And you say it's every 3 years, so are there other possibilities for you to write for them, or do you have to wait 3 years to update again, or what?
I certainly hope, because like I say, it's not all the books every 3 years. They get
Yes.
updated it, so I'm certainly hoping that this year, because they do it by contract basis, so I'm certainly hoping that this year there'll be work in other European countries, for example, that might need doing. So I'm going
Okay.
to.
Which countries would you like to write about? And are
Well,
you?
I'm particularly I would like Turkey. I've never actually been to Turkey.
Uh-huh.
That would be nice. Croatia would be nice. Never been to Croatia. Uh,
Right.
and Iceland. Never been. Iceland sounds intriguing. In the summer though, not
Yes.
the winter.
Yes, I know. And I know that you went on the container ship and you were actually on National Public Radio here in the United States. I heard your interview. So tell everyone a little bit about what you did, how many container ship trips you've done, and what if you hope to do another one.
Okay, this was my second container ship trip. I'll tell you very briefly. My father is an ex merchant mariner,
Mm.
and he used to tell me stories as a kid about being at sea. So I've grown up hearing stories about being at sea and what it's like. And then he told me one day, he said, it is possible they do take passengers. And I think I stopped eating at the time. I said, really? He said, yes, you might want to go on to, that googly thing you use. He doesn't know the name Google.
Yes, yes.
So I Googled it and found a couple of agents that do actually book trips. This particular one has offices in London and Toronto, and I spoke to them and arranged my first trip in 2005 across the Atlantic to Guadeloupe, Martinique, Colombia, Costa Rica, and back again to the UK. So that was 5 weeks round trip. But this specific one, I went from Athens to Hong Kong via Suez and the Red Sea on a container ship for 37 days.
Wow.
And then I flew back from Hong Kong. I spent some time on holiday in Hong Kong and went back.
So for people who don't really know what this means, what is the difference and what are the advantages and why would someone want to do that versus taking a cruise, just as an
Yeah,
example?
I get asked that a lot. You've asked very politely. A lot of people say to me, "Why would you want to do that?"
Oh,
As if it's crazy. But okay, well, for a start, it's cheaper than a cruise for the size cabin you get. I had I think about a 30 square meter ensuite cabin with massive portholes all around. For the price I paid, it's you would get on a cruise ship a cabin below the waterline with no portholes.
oh yes, yes.
So, but also for me, I was the only passenger. For me, I wasn't comfortable with the idea of being surrounded by forced entertainment.
Yes.
I wanted to actually be part of a working ship, obviously not working and obviously respecting the boundaries of the crew, because I'm not primarily they're there for the cargo, but I really became part of a big family, and that for me, it's not about the destination Hong Kong, it was about the journey. So that 37 days, I really got to know the crew, got to
Yes.
become part of the family. It was a very, very interesting time, and I really enjoyed it. And yes, I would do it again. Maybe not to Hong Kong, but I'd like to do it again.
And what I can see is that it would be a wonderful opportunity for somebody who like myself, who likes to write, who likes to meet people, and can you interview the crew and find out about, if you like to meet new people and write about stories about their lives, is that something that you did?
For sure. I mean, and there's a whole section on my website about container ship travel, actually.
Okay.
And
Give,
out of politeness, I did let them know that I was writing a piece for the Daily Telegraph.
Let me see if I can screen share your website. Tell me if you can see it. Trying. Do you see it?
Not yet.
You don't?
Yes, there you go. I see it now. And there's a
Okay.
piece called Adventure Travel.
Yes. Okay, I'll click on that and then container ship.
Travel.
Yeah, I'm clicking on that right now, so it should be loading. It's taking a little while, but anyway.
There are a lot of images on there.
Oh, that might be why. So
So
anyway, I'm scrolling down container ship travel. Can you see it or not?
yes, I can. Thank you. Yes, there's all
Okay.
my
And
adventures.
you've got a section called Women on Ships.
Yes, that was basically, do you know what? The chief officer, when I left the ship, he thanked me for being on board. He said to me, you know what, having females on board, it doesn't matter if they're single passengers like yourself or the wife of the captain. He said, it makes us better men.
Oh, how
He said,
interesting.
men
Yes,
become better humans.
that's wonderful. I know you said that you wanted to do one more, and you were telling me a while ago which was the next adventure that you want to do if you have a choice.
I would love maybe to fly to Southeast Asia somewhere and then do a port down to Australia, or go the other way, fly to the United States and go through Panama and through across the Pacific to Australia.
Okay. Um, so, as far as other things that you are doing, I know you were writing a novel. Is that right?
Yes, yes, I'm writing. It's a kind of it's loosely, I say, based on my experiences of my first year in the village in Greece.
And why
So
were you in that village in the beginning? Why did you pick, and what was the name of the village?
Well, I'll keep the name of the village to
Oh,
myself. You
okay,
can find it. You can actually find it through my site if you have a look through my site.
okay.
Plus, you'll find it through the book when it's eventually released. It was a small village in the middle of Greece on the mainland, and basically, it was my first teaching job. I came out to Greece to teach English, and because I didn't have much experience teaching English, I couldn't get a job with, say, any of the bigger organisations. So it was a small school that didn't really have many, say, foreigners or teachers, like English teachers there. So it was my first experience of teaching. It was the only
How,
place really to get a job. So I taught there for a year, was thrown into the thick of it because, like I say, it's a small Greek village where not a lot of people did speak English, or
and
not
was
in Athens.
how do you teach when you can't really communicate in their language? I mean, is it
It's a lot easier than you think, you know, and this is something that I believe you will maybe find when you do your course, because you are actually trained to how to handle that, and
okay?
particularly in Greece where you can use a lot of hand movements, and
Right.
find that even now with the young children because they're young, it can be difficult, but you do get round it, particularly with gesticulation, particularly if there isn't,
Yes.
there's a lot of that in Greece.
And like the French and the Latin
Yeah,
types, they all use their hands to speak.
yeah.
Good. And what surprises me is that you're not writing a nonfiction book.
It's loose. It's fiction stroke non-fiction because it's loosely based on real events, and
Right.
I have to do that in a way to protect the people that I'm writing about.
I see.
So
Okay.
it's
And
politely.
when do you think you will be publishing your book?
I'm going through the final edits now.
Good.
I envisage. I don't know when this year, but I do envisage this year. I've already had a friend who said she can help me design the front cover, so I'm even at that stage. So
Wonderful.
yes, it's going to be exciting. Very
And
exciting.
are you going to do a book tour
I
once?
don't. I'm going to sell. I will. I'm going to self-publish it. Book tour, I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Launch. Yes. I've got some friends that run art. You know, they support artists within Athens. That not
Yes.
just authors, but artists, photographers, etc. So I might get together with them and see if we can organise a book launch. That would be
So,
good. Get some
yeah.
publicity for that.
And it would be maybe there's an English bookstore in Athens.
There are bookstores in Athens that do stock international books and
Okay.
international. So yes.
So tell me, we're going to be ending our interview soon. So is there something that we don't know about Athens or Greece in general that you would like to share with us? Whether it's about the people, the country, what you would recommend if somebody was to visit for 5 days, what they should do, just something general that's helpful.
I'd say if you can, don't overlook Athens for a start, because a lot of people just come spend one night in Athens so they can go to the islands like Santorini or Mykonos. For a start, there are a lot of beautiful islands nearer Athens itself as opposed to Santorini, which is very far. Santorini is beautiful, but I term it as very Disney, for example.
Is it? Yes.
Yes, it's what you would expect. Whereas the smaller islands have a lot more Greek tourists, like
Yeah.
Koro, Egina, Agistri. These are all islands that are nearer Athens and can be reached within about an hour and a half, for example. Don't overlook these. And
Okay.
also within Athens, stay maybe 2 or 3 days in Athens itself and go past the local, all the, don't just come to see the Acropolis or don't just come to see Plaka, the flea market. There are lots of things going on, lots of local things going on that's great to see. Particularly now, there's a lot of artists that have sprung up. There's a lot of different markets that have sprung up. Wherever you're staying, there'll be a local fruit and vegetable market one day a week. So try and
Oh,
go to the local market in your neighbourhood. They block off the streets and you hear all the farmers come and sell all their wares. So try and take in that experience, for example.
and if you're traveling on a budget,
Yeah.
as you say, don't go to the really touristy spots. Where would you recommend? I mean, those other islands that you were mentioning where the locals go, is that a
Mm.
way to save money, maybe?
Well, I mean, I always tend to, whenever I travel, I always tend to not book anything in advance. I hop on a ferry down in
Hmm.
Piraeus. I don't even know where I'm going sometimes. Sometimes I'll just go down to the ferry port to see where the next ferry is, because usually there's a ferry going within the hour to one of these islands.
Oh,
And usually there's people, there's Greek people, Greek families that have got small kind of pensions or etc., that they're renting rooms, etc., maybe for 20, 25 euros a night, or maybe
okay.
even less now. So these are the kind of things I do. I don't mind. I'm not one of these people that has to plan. I've learned that since living in
Yes,
Greece, actually. I just
right.
turn up and just go.
That's the fun part of travel when you don't plan things. And then just a last question, if you can't speak any Greek, will you be able to navigate your ways finding people who can help you in English or
I think so. I've been told by some people that they do have problems. I personally have never had problems, but I think it's in your attitude as well. But I don't think this is just in Greece. I think this is anywhere. If you smile a lot and
yes,
you almost um, look at yourself as if you're a bit silly me type thing. I don't speak your language. I'm so sorry. People are
yes,
very kind to you, and if you gesticulate a lot, if you have a map, they can show you. And usually, people in Greece, I find maybe it's not the same so much in Italy or Spain, but in Greece, if they hear you speak English, they really want to practice. This is why I've
okay.
had a problem learning so much Greek, or not, because they
But
really want to practice their English.
surely the young people um, speak English. I mean, I found that in Paris, nearly every young person speaks English.
Good. Well, yes, the young people speak English very well. Like I say, I'm teaching kids from the age of 6.
Yes, yes.
So
So
yes, they do.
good,
Yeah, they
good.
do very well.
Well, listen, Rebecca, this has been wonderful, and I would like you to give everybody your website again and any information how they can contact you if they have questions.
Sure, it's lifebeyondbordersblog.com.
Okay, I want to emphasize the blog part. It's not just Life Beyond Borders, but lifebeyondbordersblog.com.
Yeah, and that's the URL. And on there, you'll find link to my Twitter, my Facebook, and my Pinterest, my YouTube account. You'll find a link to contact me through email or a contact form. So yes, it would be lovely to hear. I love hearing from people.
Yes, and I love what you're doing with your blog and how you're expanding and
Thank you.
incorporating other people's articles. So
Yeah.
you, yes, that's once a week. I don't know how you pronounce it, paperly or
Oh
the
yes, Paperly is actually a newspaper thing that comes out daily. But no, I like to feature guest posts from people, particularly authors, such as yourself, Sonia, who've had
yeah.
adventurous lives, for example, or travel authors, or even expats who've lived abroad and have got advice, not necessarily just in Greece, expats, but expats from anywhere who've got advice about what it's like moving abroad, etc., because it can be scary. Yeah, it's nice to have guest posts, to know that you're not in it on your own.
And do people have to sign up if they want to receive that? Or how does
Well,
that work?
people subscribe to my site anyway, so they can see new posts when it comes out. But if they want to contact me because they're interested in taking part or this, that, and the other, they just send me an email and usually tell me, look, I'm an expat and this is what I do. I'd
Okay.
really like to feature on your site, and we have a dialogue then.
Okay, and what is your email? I know it's on your site, but maybe you could just give it.
Sure, it's really simple. Bex, Bex,
Mm-hmm.
at lifebeyondbordersblog.com.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Beccy. It's been fun to chat with you again and get an update from the last time we spoke.
Yeah, thank you. It's
So
been a pleasure.
good luck to you with everything, and I'll probably interview you again in a year or so, and we'll have another update on your book and everything.
See how
So
far. Yes.
thank you so much, and everyone, thank you for listening. This will be a YouTube video, and I will post the link on my Facebook and as well as Twitter and everything else. So I hope you enjoyed it, and come back because I shall do some other Google Hangouts in the future with interesting people like Rebecca Hall. So thank you and goodbye.
Thanks, Sonia.
Thank you.